What's up YouTube? My name is Caden and you're watching Gas at Garage. Today I bought the cheapest 140cc pit bike engine I could find on eBay, and we're going to be putting it into my SSR 70 pit bike. I'm going to be literally doubling the displacement and tripling the horsepower of the original engine on this thing. So at the end of this video, we're going to be taking this thing for a rip to see how much extra power we gain from this new engine. This is going to be awesome. Enjoy the video. Alright guys, so this is my SSR 70 pit bike right here. It used to have a 72cc 4-speed semi-auto engine in it, but last time we were at Mini Mayhem with cars and cameras, the transmission kind of decided to grenade itself. I think it was first gear that got sheared off, and then there were multiple other pieces inside the transmission that blew up as well. And plus the engine smoked pretty bad and it needed a top end rebuild anyway, so I just ended up getting rid of it. So I bought a 140cc engine off of eBay, and this is actually the cheapest one that I could find on eBay, so might be a little bit of a gamble, but we'll see what happens. It was only 300 bucks, so if it does break, I'll probably just end up buying a Lifan or Lifan, I don't know how you pronounce it, 140cc engine, because I know those are pretty good. Now, you might be wondering why didn't I do it in the first place? That's just because I am kind of on a budget here, so I just wanted to do this, and I also just wanted to see how the video would perform if it says like cheapest 140 on eBay. So that's what we're doing here today. So I'm gonna get a razor blade and we're gonna cut this box open and see what we have to work with. This box does have these corner protectors on it, which is nice because it kind of reassures me that this thing is pretty well packaged. Wow, this thing is a lot wider than the original one. So it looks like we have the Kickstarter, I have the carburetor right there. I wonder if this is any larger. It's hard to tell because I still have the intake manifold on there, but it doesn't look too much bigger, but I can always get an aftermarket carb for this engine. Oh wow, yeah. I'm probably going to get a different carburetor because I don't know if you can see it in there, but that is kind of tiny. Not very big. But these carburetors are cheap, so I may just get a new one. Shift lever right there. Intake manifold. There's the bolts. Here is the engine. Flywheel cover. I am going to see if I can use the original flywheel cover off of the 70cc, but I doubt it'll fit now that I'm looking at this. Yeah, that is definitely a little bit larger than the 70 that was on here. And this one has a manual clutch. The other one, the little 70cc, it had a semi-automatic transmission, which means there is no manual clutch. And that basically means you can just shift it without having to have a clutch lever. Because it had like a centrifugal clutching mechanism that varied with the engine RPM. I'm just inspecting this thing for damage. Looks pretty darn good. And it looks like my foot pegs will be able to bolt up. Although I'm not sure how they'll be with the width on there. I wonder if this thing has oil in it. It's got a little bit in there, but I'm gonna probably top it off with some good 1040 wet clutch oil, just to be safe on this thing, because you never know. But this thing looks like it's constructed pretty well. It doesn't look like it's cheap casting, which is good. And it's 140 cubic centimeters. So yeah, everything looks to be here. Hopefully all the bolts are here. I think they are. Let's go ahead and get this old carburetor off of here, clean this up a little bit, and get this engine mounted. So I got this engine mounted in here. I got the exhaust on. I put oil in it and hooked up the throttle off camera. So we should be able to give this thing a first start. I'm not sure if it's in gear or not, but it doesn't matter because there's no chain on it. And I did let a little bit of fuel into the carburetor so it can run. And I did look at the size of this carburetor, and it is literally the exact same size as the original carb. So I will be getting a new carburetor for this thing. But let's see if this thing will start up. Let me try it on choke first. I wonder if we even have spark. I may not have the wiring hooked up correctly on this thing. I'm gonna look at this a little bit off camera and then we'll try this again. All right guys, so I kind of had a total brain fart moment and forgot that this bike doesn't have the proper wiring harness to hook all this stuff up. And when I was trying to diagnose the no spark issue, I realized that the coil right here was literally not even hooked up to anything. So that was kind of a hey dum-dum moment on my part. So I did just order a proper wiring harness for this thing that should be here tomorrow. So we'll pick this back up once all that gets here. And I also ordered a clutch lever, chain, and a larger carburetor for this thing, so we can really actually get this thing working. So I will jump ahead to the time lapse of when I'm hooking up the wiring harness, putting on the clutch lever, chain, carb, all that stuff. And then after that, we can give this thing a test start and take it for a ride. Alright guys, so I got the wiring harness and clutch all hooked up, but I was going to put this chain on, and apparently this drive sprocket right here is actually for 428 chain. And this is 420 chain that I got, which I thought would fit because this sprocket is for 420, and so was the original drive sprocket on the original engine. But apparently, this sprocket is not the right size in terms of the width. It's the right distance between the teeth. It's a 40 series chain, but it's too wide. So instead of buying a new one, there's enough meat on this sprocket. I can just take it off and carefully take it on the grinder and grind it down to the right width to be able to fit this chain here. I have done this on another sprocket that was on the Goofy mini bike that I did a few months ago. I had to grind down the rear sprocket on that thing to be able to fit the chain, and also for clearance purposes. But I think I can do the same thing on this if I'm careful enough. So I'm gonna just do that off camera just because it'll go pretty quick. And after that, we can get the chain on, give this thing a test start, and take it for a test drive. And one thing I will do is I want to take it for a drive with this carburetor on here, the one that came with the engine, just to kind of see how it does. And then I'll put the new carburetor that I got on here, which is a 22 millimeter carburetor, which is significantly larger than the one that's on there, because I want to see how much performance that'll gain me. So I'm going to get that sprocket ground down off camera. We'll put the chain on, and then we'll try and start this thing up. So I got the wiring harness on, the clutch is all hooked up, the chain's on, I got the side cover back on, everything's pretty much ready to go on this thing. So let's turn the fuel on and give this thing a first start. Ran for a second. You know what? I think I'm just gonna actually throw on the new carburetor on this thing, because this carburetor is incredibly restrictive, and I'm kind of itching to get this thing to full power as quick as possible. So let's go ahead and swap out this carburetor real quick with the new one, and take this thing for a rip. Okay, we have a flat tire. A very flat tire. Yeah. All right, let me put some air in this thing, and we'll try this again. All right, guys, so this is kind of not going well right now. The engine is not running great, but it does run. I think it just needed to heat up. But the biggest problem is I think I popped the inner tube. So now I have to go buy a new inner tube for this thing because I just tried to put air in it and it all just hissed back out. So that kind of sucks. But I'll probably just do it off camera because I want to go ride this thing and I know you want to see it drive, and you don't want me to just keep working on this thing for the whole video. So I'm just going to do that off camera, and then we will come back once I have the new inner tube in. All right, guys. So a couple of things happened soon after I realized that the pit bike tire was popped, or the inner tube was popped, that is. I went out and bought a new inner tube and a new rear tire for this thing just because the tire that was on there is kind of getting pretty bald. And when I took it off to replace the inner tube, I also noticed that the inside of the tire was pretty damaged. Like you could literally see cord on the inside of the tire because I had ridden on the tire back to the house once I realized that the tire was popped, or the inner tube was popped, I should say. So I needed a new tire anyway, but when I was putting the new tire on with the new inner tube, the new tire that I got was so stiff in terms of like the thickness of the rubber that it was all I could do just to get it onto the rim, and it actually ended up ripping the inner tube. So I wasn't able to inflate it, and now I have to take it back off and get a new inner tube and try and find a better way to do it. So that's actually going to be a while from me filming this right now because I am currently sitting in my basement with a broken leg. I broke my leg 2 weeks ago yesterday. Today is November 7th, and I broke my leg on October 23rd. And thankfully I was able to film a lot of the pit bike stuff, basically everything you just saw before that, but it prevented me from going to mini mayhem with cars and cameras, and it prevented me from finishing this video before that happened. So it really sucks, and if you want to see the full explanation video about what happened, go to the link in the description below. But the pit bike also needs to be re-geared because I noticed that it's pretty slow and it's pretty much the same speed as it was before. But I did notice that when I tried to purposely stall the engine to see how much torque it had, it wouldn't stall. It just kept going. Even if I was on the brakes, it just kept inching forward, which means this thing has a ton of torque, which also means that I can gear it a lot taller and still have a lot of low end torque. So I will be putting a smaller sprocket on this thing. But I'll have to do all that once I heal up, and I can't even ride the thing until I heal up. So, all right, guys. So, I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I think I'm actually going to end the video here, just because I'm not going to be able to ride this for probably at least another 2 months, like I said earlier, just because I currently have a broken leg. And you may notice it's not in a cast, and that's because they put a metal rod in my bone, which allows me to not wear a cast, and I can also stand like this, but I can't walk currently. I can just put about 50% weight on it, but I can't walk because when you walk, it transitions 100% of your weight to just that leg. But anyway, as for the pit bike, I think, like I said, I'll just end the video here because in the next video of this project, I will probably be able to tune the carburetor better. I'm actually going to put a smaller rear sprocket on this thing. This is currently a 37 tooth, and I'm going to put a 25 tooth on there just because I already know this engine has a lot of torque, so I will be able to get a little bit more top speed out of it without sacrificing low end power. So I also need to get a new rear inner tube because you can see I tried to put some tire slime in here, but I guess the rip in the inner tube was just way too big and it all leaked out. And then when I try and put air in this tire, it just immediately hisses back out. So that'll all have to be for the next video of this project. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.